This program is not for children. If you're under the age of 13, get the hell out of here.
From the deepest, darkest recesses of Dangerous Nerds headquarters, Keith Moncrief and Gerry Cavill.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Pop Culture Minefield. That's Keith over there.
And that's Gerry.
And down there in the Brady Bunch box, that's Definition.
Welcome to the Heavy Spoilers Show. I'm your host, Definition, aka the guy that's still cooling off after watching the Batman trailer for the 900th time. Heavy Spoilers and Definition, the same person.
Yes. He's apparently, you're from a foreign country? Did you talk about
Yeah, apparently. Going to see Tenet tomorrow, if you can believe it.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I am
Lucky
so
me.
seeing that movie. Oh, yeah. I wonder how they're going to do that. Are they going to space you like 6 feet apart from people in the audience?
Yeah, pretty much. It's all sort of, you book your seating before you go in, and then you kind of 4 people apart, I think. You've all got to wear masks inside as well. Very, very depressing.
Popcorn. It's like pull it down, popcorn, put the mask back up.
Yeah, just like...
And then it's like 2 days later, you put your mask on going, the taste smells like popcorn. But,
yeah.
For people who don't know who Definition is, do you want us to call you by your real name or stick with Definition?
Just call me Paul. I'm trying to slowly integrate it, so I might as well start here. I'm trying to get rid of the definition. Yeah,
play the drums. You can play guitar and bass.
Hey, Paul.
It's
Hello.
all the Ruddles. And of course, Ruddles is the mock Beatles band. Monty Python and other people do. I'm just bringing up references, and you guys are just like staring at me.
I don't even know them. I think you have like a strange understanding of British people.
Oh my god, you're a terrible limey.
Yeah.
Hey, at least I know who the Ruddles are. So
Yeah, exactly. You probably know better than
It
me.
came out. What was that? 78. It's a mockumentary.
Yeah.
On a band like the Beatles. They were called
Right.
the Ruttles. Hello, we're the Ruttles.
it's Eric Idle's thing, and he contacted George Harrison and got a little participation from him behind the scenes, but for the most part, it was their own thing, and it was just pretty much
It was a
mocking the
precursor.
history of the Beatles.
Yeah.
Precursor to the other great rock mockumentary.
Spinal Tap. Yeah,
That's right.
I know that one. Just not
Yeah,
the
it's
Ruddles.
a lot of the same crew. We're
Yeah, cool.
And so it's like, hey, let's take this same idea we did with the Ruddles and make it an American heavy metal band. Little Stonehenge.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to give a little glimpse of some of the stuff you do. Let's get that up on the screen here. And play.
Welcome to the Heavy Spoilers Show. I'm your host, Definition, aka Robert Pattinson, and we're
Robert
here at the
Pattinson.
final panel. This is the last one I'm going to be covering, and it's also the one that I'm probably hyped for the most. I haven't checked out this trailer yet, but throughout this video, we're going to be breaking down everything that you need to know about it. There may be some spoilers here, as I will be talking about some of the leaks that I've heard. So if you want to go into this as blind as a bat, then I highly suggest that you turn off now. We don't know if they're for definite or not, but again, I don't want to ruin the movie for anyone who wants to go in just to enjoy it. With that out of the way, thank you for clicking this. Now let's get into the trailer.
And we'll stop there.
Okay.
Because we don't want to spoil it for anybody.
No,
But,
so little secret there. I actually watched the leaked version of the trailer and made my video a bit early.
Oh,
Kind of ruined it for myself. Don't tell Warner Brothers. Don't tell either of them. But yeah,
they don't like our show, so they won't watch it.
good. No one does. So I'm sorry. I'm just kidding. So the 2 biggest trailers of the day were the Snyder Cut and the Batman, and both of those leaked early. So I was quite lucky. I say early. It was still about 1 a.m, but still counts.
I think it was great. I sat and watched yours. I was about to go to bed myself, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, he's got video. So I
Yeah.
watched it, and I'm like, oh, that was really good. I
Thank
think the trailer that surprised me was the Black Adam.
Okay.
And
yeah, because it was. Did you see with it just being all concept art? I wasn't too high on it, to be honest.
what I liked about it was that it was a narrative. He's just basically reading. That's what it was. But I've seen two versions of it, and it seems like it cuts off early or something, because the first version I saw had him talking about Hawkman and all these other characters, and then does the classic, his version of "Wait till they get a load of me" line from the Joker, and I thought, wow, what a great little short thing. But I haven't been able to find that one. I keep seeing the 1 minute and 28-second one that doesn't have that part in it.
Yeah, I think that's the one I watched, which was on the panel, and yeah, I haven't watched it again since.
Yeah, I can't find it.
Yeah, well, no, strange, sucks. We'll just have to keep it in our memories forever and ever.
Until the movie.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't know. It has been a while since he got cast, and I think given the pandemic and everything, it's really difficult. But the thing about Dwayne Johnson you got to understand is he right now holds a majority of popular cinema in his hands.
Yeah.
He is the king of popular cinema. So he can go out and get whatever projects made or at least started. He can staff it however he wants. He can get whatever co-stars he wants. And it seems like he's already passed the big test for me, which is he has proven to be quite knowledgeable when it comes to the comic book source for not only Black Adam, but for a lot of the other characters. So,
yeah, definitely. And I think you can just tell by how big the guy is, how hench he is, that he's willing to put in the work to be a certain way. And he's a bit like Christian Bale's exactly the same, but he'll starve himself for months on end.
It's great. He's getting great dedication.
Yeah, exactly. And The Rock's quite similar as well. I mean, remaining that size is very, very difficult, I imagine.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, him just constantly being at that size kind of shows how his mind works almost. And he does work quite a lot as well. It always seems like he's getting announced as an actor in something. He's doing some Disney Plus film coming up with Emily Blunt, I think. I forgot what it's called. It's about a riverboat.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's always working pretty much as well. And I definitely, and this, he has been wanting to do this for a while because he's been posting loads of Instagram live videos about it. But DC just, until probably the last 6 months, haven't had their stuff together. So Man of Steel 2 has been kind of up in the air. Black Adam's been up in the air for absolutely ages. And it's really good to see that they pulled everything together just for this one event. I mean, the amount of movies they've announced the last couple of years has been crazy. There's been Black Hawks, which was meant to be directed by Steven Spielberg.
Yeah, exactly. Let me at least interrupt you for a moment and just say this. You are the only other person to mention that film besides me. It seems like we're the only two.
We've brought it up and you've brought it up and nobody else talks about it. It's like, why aren't you talking about that? That was an amazing comic.
Yeah, and it just seems to have totally disappeared. They didn't even mention it at Fandom, and I don't think it's on the slate. There was a Batgirl movie with Joss Whedon, and then that kind of stalled.
I think that was a story.
Yeah,
I think that was a story.
You know as well as we do how they Warner Brothers does things just like Sony. All of them, they'll throw something out there just to see if people bite at it and
Madame Web movie.
Put effort into it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I do think they were greenlighting so much, and it just seemed that none of it was actually happening. Whereas Fandom has kind of been like, right, here's our projects. This is what's going down. These are going to be happening. Here's people talking about them who are working on them. So it was just a really great event. And, it might change the way things are going forward. Obviously, the pandemic's a massive thing. But
Well, it's
Marvel
done
might.
so much damage to everything.
Exactly.
You're going to see people coming out stronger, or they're just going to go away.
Definitely.
And I think you picked it up too, because you were just talking about it. And I think Keith and I were the first ones to talk about the power of The Rock with Warner, because I think I was the first one to make a joke about it. Like back early, it was either first of this year or towards the end of last year. And I said, it seems to me that he's got more pull than J.J. Abrams. And I pointed out why I believe that. I said, because he's had a better run of successes. And AT&T is about money. That's what they are. They don't give two shits about entertainment. They give a shit about success. And that's why they're putting their foot down and intervening with Warner, because they have looked at them, and I think AT&T looks at Warner DC as a bunch of idiots. I really do believe they think that. You guys,
they've just laid off quite a lot of them as well.
Well, that's the thing.
They earned that layoff, man. They worked hard.
I think it's taken AT&T this long to go through all the different departments, to go through all of the financial information they had, to go ahead and point out and pinpoint who all the lazy candy asses are.
Yeah.
And just basically start getting rid of the dead weight. And DC fandom pretty much, I think, is just the result of the survivors.
Yep.
Definitely.
That are left.
Yeah, no, 100%.
And it was not accidental that at the beginning of it, Aisha Taylor brought up the fact that she was in artwork drawn by Jim Lee, surrounded by, and I'm like, that was not an accident. That was intentional. I know you guys caught that too. It's like bringing up Jim Lee's name so prominently at the beginning of that was a statement by AT&T.
Definitely, yeah, and they did kind of derail the entire thing with Jeff Johns. Now I like him as a comic book writer. I think he's done some really good work, but you could tell Rebirth was just a complete mess, in my opinion. Doomsday Clock was absolutely terrible. I know a lot of people like it, but I just thought it was absolutely terrible. Rebirth, the whole Three Jokers thing, which the first issues dropped today, but that was announced back in 2015 or whatever, and it take 5 years to get a comic book story where you're just writing and drawing. It's not good. And obviously the movies, he was a big reason for Justice League's failing, and I think they've just got Jim Lee back in. They've said, what can you do to fix this? He said, look, we've got pretty much the Suicide Squad, that's pretty much filmed, the air cut at least. We've also got Zack Snyder's Justice League. The fan demand is there, and we've got a new streaming service launching that could be a big draw for people, and let's just put these things in production that we've actually been talking about for the past 5 years.
And of course, finally getting confirmation about Michael Keaton and Ben Affleck was awesome. Dude.
Definitely, and the same with Ben Affleck. I've been in the camp of Ben Affleck's never returning, and then with these layoffs as well, I was like, well, they're not going to be announcing anything big because they've just laid loads of people off, and I think they're broke. But yeah, great to see him back. Great to be proven wrong, and it just seems like they're taking on board everything and just really, really putting it all together. And it looks like Superman might even be the villain in Black Adam, which I think will be really interesting.
Henry Cavill.
That was what The Rock was going for. That's the reason why he's been doing all of this.
Keith and I were talking about this shit before anybody else was, that Henry Cavill's coming back. He will come back. And I said, because The Rock has such leverage, and his agent is his ex-wife, and she is also Henry Cavill's. So The Rock is pushing for Henry Cavill. It's going to happen, and they can resist all they want to. Shit's going to happen.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the way that it's going at the moment is that there were rumors a couple of months ago that Henry Cavill was asking for too much money, but what Warner Brothers were doing was they were going to have him as bit parts in films, so he wouldn't be the main character.
He did not want that.
Yeah, but I personally think that's the best way to do it for him. If he's wanting that much money, I think if they don't have a Superman film ready for him. They should just dot him about. I mean, he could easily be like Robert Downey Jr. finished Iron Man 3, and he was in Civil War and then in Infinity War, but he still popped up from time to time in all the different films. And I think that's the way that you should do it with Superman, whilst you kind of got things that you're not really doing with the character. And I think it would make it.
As a cameo, I think it should be as a character within the story that he should be significant.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not just saying just throw him to the wayside.
Yeah. Well, I thought you were Paul.
Yeah, get rid of him. Batman, make 5 Batman movies. Keep making them.
Superman just flies through. Hey, it's Henry Cavill. Thanks for coming.
Get out. Like the Shazam, they just have it from the neck down. Like, that might be Superman.
Yeah, I thought that was funny when the director of Shazam did the Henry Cavill gag where it cuts to it's like this long giraffe. I was like, that was funny. I'm like, you got me.
Overall, I think you do have a lot of stuff attempting to be done. I give some credit to Walter Hamada because that guy had a difficult job coming in after Jeff Johns had been let go, rightly so, and having to just basically string together all of this stuff and just keep it going. Yeah. I think though he was one of the people that was not completely on board with The Rock initially. Yeah. And not in a mean way. It was just that he was asked to come in, take over DC Films. He came up with a plan. He's making sure everything works. Now you got somebody else coming in going, I want to do things this way. And I think Hamada was like, well, let's see what you got. Let me hear what you know. But ultimately, I think The Rock did it the right way. He went to AT&T. He wasn't going to fool with Warner Brothers. And that's the main reason why we have all of this right now, because AT&T is just sick and tired of being sick and tired. This has just been the dumbest thing.
No, and they should,
ultimately this is going to help them.
And yeah, DC should be killing it. They should have killed Marvel already, because you look at the characters that Marvel have, and you look at the characters that DC have. Marvel had all their C and D listers, and they built them up to A listers, whereas DC should have just completely wiped the floor with them when you look at the lineup they had, but they just kept making Batman movies and the occasional Superman one. They didn't really want to
PM, piss poor management.
Yeah, exactly. And it was just like, well,
it's people that are not comic book fans trying to make comic book movies and only going with the known.
Well, worse is the people that say they're comic book fans and they're liars, Greg Berlanti.
Yeah. But yeah, you're right. Kevin Feige is a comic book fan, and he knows so much about it, and he was put in place to steer everything so he can take these characters and build them up, whereas most people at Warner Brothers at the time in charge of DC were probably like, oh, just do Batman and Superman again. I don't want to hear about Aquaman. I don't care about Shazam. Just do those two again. Where it seems like we've actually got people now.
Warner Brothers could easily have several different types of films out there, all based on their DC properties. Yeah. They could do a whole World War II type thing. They could do a spy espionage thing. They could do a whole supernatural thing. They could do a whole just set movies just in space without even having anything to do with Earth. And the number of characters that they have, the Starhawks, the Dark Stars, the Thanagarians, the Manhunters, Captain Comet, Adam Strange, even with a little comedy with Space Cabbie. And I haven't even said Green Lantern. I mean,
exactly.
Notice they've got so much.
Yeah.
And yet they always focus in this one little area.
Exactly. And I think Joker was probably a big turning point for them. And when they realized, like, look, this isn't even connected to Jared Leto. This is just its own thing. It's its own film. And it won Oscars and did $1 billion, I think. And they probably just realized from that point, you know what, we can do anything. That they probably weren't that confident in their characters, and then they realized with that, oh crap, we're sitting on a gold mine here. And DC fandom's really shown that as well. The love for all the projects that they announced. I think they're going to absolutely crush the next couple of years. I think Marvel probably in the last 10 years.
I'm going to predict right now, though, right here now, that Batwoman is going to tank as a series.
Yeah, maybe. Well, we'll see.
Once again, it's management. You know, they're trying to put the blame on the young lady that played her.
Ruby Rose.
It's like, no, Greg, it's you. You had a bad idea, and you went the wrong way with it, and you rubbed people the wrong way. It's that simple. You pissed off the fans. Whoop.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, there you are. Ultimately, I agree with you, Gary. I think that there are certain things that Greg Berlanti has done well. I do give him credit for Doom Patrol. I do give him credit for at least the first 3 to 4 seasons
really
of The Flash.
On Doom Patrol. I mean,
that's a good point.
You know, I love Doom Patrol. I just enjoy the shit out of it. It's crass. It's goofy. It's just weird.
It doesn't really feel like something that DC would make, and that's what makes it so surprising. They just took these bottom of the barrel characters and just really, really ramped it up so that anyone can watch. Well, I say anyone, kids can't watch it, but adults can enjoy it at least. And these are the kind of projects that they should be making. Now, I'm also glad they're making 3 Batman movies or whatever, but just also experiment with the side stuff as well.
Well, they have so many characters in Batman alone that I am surprised nobody has decided to make a Batman film focused on the Batman family with all of the additional characters that you can bring in. I mean, you almost wouldn't really need a very big villain unless it's the Batman family versus, say, the League of Shadows.
Yeah.
That would be an incredible film.
Yeah.
And I think, like, by the way, that they're bringing the owls into things.
They're really pushing that as well. They're really pushing that at the moment. It's like Deathstroke a couple of years ago where he just started popping up in absolutely everything. And they're clearly doing that with the owls as well. They're just pushing them into every single thing that they can. And I even think they're going to be the main villain in the Batman trilogy.
I do believe that as well.
Yeah.
I also agree.
Yeah,
that'd be great.
And on our private group, I'm kind of going to war with some of our friends because they're just like emo Batman and I hate the Batmobile. And I'm like, how can you not fucking love that they finally have him driving a car instead of a torpedo or a fucking tank? It's a car.
Yeah, it's an actual car.
And then like one of my buddies said, it's another origin story. I said, no, it's not. It's year 2. Come on. Yeah. Do you not pay attention to our show?
I will admit. Go ahead.
I think they might have to sort that with the marketing of the movie, because there are just people that will instantly be turned against it. But the trailer I thought was absolutely phenomenal.
Fuck yeah, it had
really liked it.
I get this like when I watch my daughter do something amazing, my chest gets all full, and I'm like, and I got like a tear in my eye watching that trailer. I was like, hell yeah, that was fucking good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good.
It is. I love all this stuff, and I'm looking forward to, I think, the next fandom event in another week or 2.
Yeah.
Oh, wait,
I think that they had separated into 2. The everything that they had originally had at the 11th hour, they decided to turn it into 2 separate events, and that the first one was to be last weekend, and the next one is coming up next month.
Okay, I'm going to put $20 on the fact that the next one sucks because they're only going to have all the B stories.
It's all the TV stuff, I think.
Yeah, I know it's going to be all the Greg Berlanti crap.
Yeah.
Well, Greg Berlanti wants to be the man. He wants to do film. He
Well,
wants
Jeff Johns did the same thing. He wanted to be the next Feige.
Kevin Feige.
Yeah, and Berlanti sort of has that ambition too. The problem is neither of them have the veracity and knowledge and love for the material that Feige has.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, Feige's woke. And I tell people all the time, I don't mind woke as long as you tell me a good damn story.
Yeah.
Tell me a story that's worthwhile. And I will watch your woke stuff. Feige
Jeff Johns' problem is that he wants to filter everything through his own lens of recreating characters.
Yeah,
so they're
exactly.
more his version of the characters.
What do you think?
So
he
that's
wants
a lot in the comics.
What do you think about that, Paul?
Sorry?
What do you think about that? That it's through his filter, through his lens.
Yeah, I've often said Jeff Johns is pretty much like the J.J. Abrams of comic books, in that both J.J. and Jeff Johns, they can take an old idea and they can do the origin, absolutely nail it and set it up. But when it comes, like The Force Awakens, but when it comes to sticking the landing on stuff, it's actually just terrible. And I know my webcam keeps cutting out. Thank you. I'm getting all the praise here. So yeah, I think that personally that he's good at starting things off, and that's probably why they picked him. But in the long run, he's not really one for
it's
sticking
like
the landing.
He misfires with the execution. Both of them do.
Yeah,
and we joke on the show. I said J.J. Abrams is not going to be happy until he gets to fuck over and shit on every IP.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's true. Look, if I were Walter Hamada, I would sit JJ down and just say, look, here's your situation as it currently stands.
Mm-hmm.
The people that actually own all of this right now, they're listening to The Rock and they like what he's cooking.
Yeah.
You, my friend, right now are pretty much lucky enough to be doing dessert. So stay off to the side. Just do what you need to do. Stop pushing for your own Superman movie, which may or may not happen. Why not just pick another IP that you can grow into something? See, any other director would choose something and take what I like to call the Jack Kirby approach, which is you come in and you take something that's not that good and you make it better. Kind of like what they did with Guardians of the Galaxy in the MCU. And what JJ should do is he should do Legion of Superheroes, which is pretty much, when you think about it, if you take his version of Star Trek and mix it with the X-Men, and it's all in the future, you've got Legion of Superheroes. Easy.
And I also really appreciate that you said they like what The Rock's cooking. Because if you smell what The Rock's cooking, hey, was that intentional? That was good. But yeah, JJ, give him something to set off. Don't make him land it. Do what they did with Star Wars, where he sets it up and gets someone else in, but then don't bring him back in to fix it.
Yeah, he wants to just collect money.
I got to be honest.
Little as
he should not
possible.
be writing. He something happened to him. I think it was after Mission Impossible. Mission Impossible 3. His ability to write just went to garbage, and he just can't seem to write anymore.
Yeah, you know who wrote the screenplay for that?
I thought he wrote the screenplay for that.
No, he got Kurtzman and Orsi to do it. They wrote the screenplay for Mission Impossible 3.
Because that's a damn good script. That was a good film.
Oh, yeah, they know how to write. It's just
Kurtzman.
Kurtzman's a complete F-up. So.
Well, we have it on good, credible evidence that he's never known how to write. Because we're friends with Josh Becker, who wrote and directed a lot of Hercules and Xena, and he knew Kurtzman way back then, and he's like he constantly fell upward. It was not very good. He just kept lucking into jobs.
That's how he works, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, failing upwards.
But yeah, Mission Impossible is another example of JJ coming in and saying, like, from Mission Impossible 3 onwards, those films definitely have their own continuity and style.
Whereas the two, that's being carried, and I love that.
The two before that, don't feel like they're part
They're
of the
not
same
connected.
universe. Yeah, feel like completely different movies. Whereas JJ, you bring him in, you go, look, mate, we're in trouble. Help us out, set this up, and we'll do the rest of the work. And he's done that with Star Trek, Star Wars, Mission Impossible. Really good at that. And it's the same with Jeff Johns. He
just wants to sit by and collect checks. That's all.
He had a lot of good books early on. Flash was really good. Green Lantern was really, really good. Justice League was really good, but once you start getting away from the start off point, the things start to fall apart, and we've seen that with the films as well. We've really seen that with the films, and trying to change Justice League halfway through the production by bringing in a director who tonally is completely different as Zack Snyder. Such a bad move. I mean, there's so
That's
many
Jeff
different.
Johns.
Yeah,
That has Jeff Johns all over it.
and there's so many directors that are quite similar to Zack Snyder that probably could have came into Justice League and made a similar movie. But I think even the Snyder Cut trailer, you look at it and think this is like a completely different film to what we saw.
Well, you know that somebody had to really get shit on for me to take Zach's side, because Keith will tell you I was really harsh on Zach over Superman. And it was because of Keith I learned that that wasn't even Zach's movie. I mean, he directed it, but he was forced to shoot what they gave him, exactly the way they gave it to him. He wasn't allowed to venture in any direction. And I'm like, well, fuck you, Warner Brothers, for doing that, because I hated Man of Steel. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are great moments in it, and Henry Cavill is the bomb as Superman. He really is.
I really like it.
Oh my God, he embodies the character, and I love his interviews, because that's what we want as fans, is an actor who not only embodies it on screen, but understands the character on a personal level. And when I heard him talking in interviews, I'm like, my God, this guy really understands Superman and Clark Kent.
Yeah,
really good.
It's Warner Brothers and DC's version of having really Captain America is played by Chris Evans. You would 100%, never 100%. Not have that guy do that.
Yeah.
And it makes more sense to have Henry Cavill as Superman. I still don't understand what really the big to-do was with a lot of people in Warner Brothers. I mean, are you guys all high? And if so, why aren't you sharing with everyone else? Because obviously whatever you're doing
it really falls under what I keep saying, about Warner Brothers before AT&T, is that they love to blame the director or the actors rather than their own bad decisions. And
exactly.
Henry Cavill was a scapegoat. They were trying to use him, and the fans weren't having it. The fans are like,
the same
no.
With Zack Snyder as well. And David Ayer's starting to get that support as well, because Suicide Squad was butchered by Warner Brothers as well.
I really would like to see a director's cut of that one. Yeah,
the first trailer is really, really good. And obviously in the last minute, they passed it off to a trailer company and said, you guys are editing the movie now. Never edited a film before, I don't think. And such a
Did you guys notice with the Suicide Squad, when they were doing all of the behind-the-scenes stuff for the DC fandom event, there was one particular person that showed up just really quick that I got really excited about, and it's Charles Rovin. He was the guy who immediately got fired, shit can, whatever, after Justice League. Now, he was the guy who Warner Brothers originally had on all of their superhero films, starting with Batman Begins. He made the transition from working with Christopher Nolan on his 3 movies to begin with Man of Steel and build all the rest of it. So when everything went to hell in a handbasket after Justice League came out, he was the person that was immediately fired, I think, by Jeff Johns.
Yeah.
And now he's back, and he is the producer on The Suicide Squad. And it's the right move because he knows so much. He's one of these people that knew enough to know to say, I don't know that much, but I know who to hire who can get this done.
Who can do it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely. And that's good management. That's all good management is. It's not steering the ship yourself. It's getting the right people behind the oars to do it. Does that metaphor work? I don't know.
Yeah. And I
getting
think
the right people in place.
I think Charles Rovin should be brought back to be placed in charge to help out with all the other films. He was one of the producers of Wonder Woman. I mean, I don't think he was producer on Shazam, but all of the movies that he did have any connection to prior to him being fired, I mean, his name's on everything with the exception of Shazam and Aquaman, because those two films got made after he got let go.
Yeah, but it's good that they've got him back. It seems like Jim Lee must have known something when he was working at DC before he was the CEO, but he wasn't in a position to do anything about it. And he's watched Jeff Johns he was probably angry. I mean, I'm sure we've all worked at places where people have been let go and we've been like, well, that was a bit of a stupid decision. And, you know, he's now been given this position of power. So he's probably just brought them back, and which is the right thing to do.
That's one half of it. The way Jim Lee explains it is the way he tries to explain it, he's still taking the position that he had before. He's not going to be given overall power. What it is they're going to bring in a manager, someone to run everything. So Jim Lee will eventually reestablish the role that he had before with Dan Didio. It's just that he needs to run everything for now. And I think Jim Lee should go ahead and just go for broke. What he should do is they cancel a bunch of books, keep 10 titles to do, and just start going out and getting all-star talent. There are a bunch of people who are clearly no longer working for anybody, especially for Marvel. You go out and you pick up some of that Marvel talent that's no longer working for Marvel. You bring them in, you pick out 10 books to keep. Pick any one you want. You tell them to just do whatever, and for the next year, just start churning it out. That's what I would do.
And the whole model of Rebirth was stupid anyway, because it was 2 books a month, sorry. So it was bi-monthly. And it was just too much. It was never people just can't keep on top of all that when you have so many different comic runs as well. And it just gets lost. Like I was following Batman and just too much coming out all the time.
That's always been a problem with the comic book industry is they'll get management that thinks, we'll do this to try to build and make more money. And the problem is I mean, I learned this working for IDW, that comic books haven't turned a profit since 1972. And they have a finite fan base. The fan base grows with population. It doesn't like suddenly explode and you can gain all these new readers. It doesn't work that way. They have a steady fan base that grows with population, and the companies were kind of happy with that, DC and Marvel, because they were able to create IPs, license, and merchandise, because that's the bread and butter for them. That's where they were making their money, and so the comics paid for themselves, but the profit was through licensing, you know, selling the property, renting it out, and
toys.
So, but then Batman came out in 1989, and in '86, I quit reading comics because of the Secret Wars, because they tried a marketing ploy to get you to buy the shitty comics. It's like, well, if you want the continuation of Secret Wars, you got to read this comic that nobody fucking wants. And so I felt so put upon as a fan that I sold all my long boxes. I just said, get rid of them. I'm done with comics. I will never read a comic. And then one of the producers on this show, my childhood best friend, he's like, but here's a graphic novel. And I'm like, And I've been a graphic novel guy since, or trade paperback. I went the full story in one sitting. But then after Batman, they flood the market with Batman comic titles. And it does really well initially they think, oh, we got all these new customers. No, they're going to buy a few comics because of the movie, and then they're going to go back to what they were doing before, not reading comics. And you're going to drop right back down to that level where you were at before.
And during that whole period when they were doing that with Batman, you notice Marvel was overdoing it with Wolverine. They had like 100%. 9 or 10 different Wolverine books in the 90s, which is what led to when it was time to make the X-Men film, why the idea was, well, whatever story we tell, it's got to be Wolverine and everyone else.
Yeah.
And that was literally the driving force to writing the script the way that it was. It was used as a vehicle for them, for Wolverine. And in their minds, as soon as they did the 3 movies, the original plan for X-Men was to do the 3 movies and then do Wolverine movies,
Origins.
which would then take the box office even higher, was their original thought, because Wolverine was so popular. Everybody loves Wolverine. So he's the character we got to keep.
Yeah. But, you see what I'm saying is that the comic industry is replete with historical mistakes.
Yeah. Well, the death of Superman as well, when that was such a big thing that suddenly every single comic publisher thought, right, we need to make everything a mega event. So we need to break Batman's back. And then it just got to the point where there was so much and they were doing issue 1 all the time, thinking that that led to the crash, basically, where they just launched loads of new titles, all issue 1, and everyone thought they were going to be really rare and worth something. So they bought them all, realized they weren't, and then the comic industry had hired so many new members of staff that it just crashed. They just didn't have the money to pay.
It led to the change in the industry, which is the reason I didn't go to work for DC was because that's who I wanted to work for. Was because I couldn't move to New York. Because everything was in-house. They only used a handful of freelancers. These were established people. If you wanted to work for DC or Marvel, you moved to New York and worked in the office to become part of the bullpen eventually. And that was your goal, your hope. And I think that helped break them, because that all changed when the comic book crash happened. And a lot of people don't even remember that there was a period of time in the 80s when Marvel quit publishing. What was it, 2 years? Wasn't it 2 years, Keith?
I thought it was in the 50s when they did that.
No, I think it was right at the beginning of the 80s. I thought they went through a spell where they kind of shut the offices down. Because all I read was DC at that point. I didn't even see anything on the little spinners.
Oh, no. Okay. Marvel was trying to expand, and what they decided to do is they had already opened up offices outside of the United States and were trying to bring in a lot of talent from other countries. That's how you started getting an influx of talent from
and those guys.
And so they started printing stuff. They had like Marvel UK and one other place. And they started trying to do this whole thing where, ooh, look, it's the next generation and the next wave. And that's what they were into. And DC was still like up their own, so.
That was just for you, Paul.
Yeah, thank you. Alan, no more. Please, no more.
Yeah, I've never liked that guy. I don't think he's that good a writer. But I do like his stuff. It's just, I'm like, why do you think he's so good? It's like, he's a prick. Never, people who have worked with him are like, man, he tells you everything. You have no freedom as an artist. You draw it exactly the way he says to do it.
Yeah.
It's like his scripts were like a 22-page comic script was like 60 pages of notes.
One panel. Just
ridiculous. Yeah, a whole page just for one panel. I saw that.
Yeah.
Watchmen, I think Dave Gibbons has to be given a medal for just working with him, because to work with him for as long as he has.
Yes. And he's so disrespectful to him too. It's just like when you hear him talk about, they should be thankful that I gave that to him. Like he didn't do any work, like more work than you. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm a writer, but I'm also an artist. And I know that when I'm doing the artwork, I'm doing 5 to 10 times more work than the writer on a project. So when they act like they've done some hard work, I'm like, dude, don't even try to sell that shit to me.
Yeah. Don't. Well, a lot of the time as well, the scripts are just very basic, aren't they? And it's kind of the artist who interprets it and then.
Well, that's the way I feel it should be, because an artist is the film director of a comic book. And they're given the script, and it's their job to interpret that visually and to tell that story visually. That's why I always wanted to be a film director, but I hate actors. So I do comics.
Yeah. Nice.
Because the characters never argue with me.
You've got an unlimited budget as well.
Mm-hmm.
So you just do what you want with comics. But comics pretty much now are just put in place to see what's going to work for a movie. What
Exactly.
stories they're gonna like. They
And
have
they
a
are.
unlimited budget.
It's a way of testing the waters for a film idea. And
Yeah.
I told when I got hired to do Iron Sky, you know the film Iron Sky, right? Nazis on the Moon. You've never seen that film?
Never heard it. I'm sorry.
Andre from Midnight's
Send me
Edge
it.
actually knows who I am
okay.
because I did the Iron Sky comic book or graphic novel. And I walked in and I told him, I said, you want to promote your project and get money through campaigning? The cheapest marketing you can do outside of free is a comic book. Just do and that's what I did. That's how I got the gig. I walked in and I told him, you need a comic book. Sell the film with a comic book, a prequel. And that's what they did. They got all their funding. And I was even going to do the second film because did it come out? Yeah, it did. It came out. But I'm like, nah, I want to do other stuff. Not just Nazis on the Moon.
Well, 30 Days of Night was originally a film script, and the guy took it to the studio and they rejected it. And he was like, well, I can't remember who told him, but basically he got told, if you want to make this into a movie, just make it a comic book first and then sell that to the studio instead of a script.
Yeah,
And
because at that point, as I recall, there'd only been one adaptation of a comic/graphic novel that tanked at the theater. Everything, it was hitting almost 95% success rate for comic to film. And Steve did
Jonah Hex.
Yeah, Jonah Hex. And because Steve, I know Steve. Steve and I grew up in the same area in Virginia, shopped at the same shops, played in punk bands at the same time. And my band was called the Smelly Pubes. And it was really the name. One of our songs was "There's a Dead Mouse in My Room and It Smells Like Shit."
Nice.
It was a true story and a great song. And but
imitating art.
Steve is I think he's probably one of the most creative writers I know. I really do think so. Technically, because I've read his scripts like before they were went to publish, and he really requires an editor. But he's creatively like one of the best writing minds I think I've heard, much better than Alan Moore. And he really writes creepy shit, like Stephen King kind of creepy, or Dean Koontz creepy.
See, that's the kind of talent that DC should be hiring. In fact, they should bring back some of their.
I mean, they still have artists like Kelly Jones, a friend of mine. Of course, Graham Nolan, who's one of my closest friends, him and Chuck. You know, Chuck has had, because of his political slant, has been kryptonite. You know, the comic industry has been avoiding him. And why? Because his comics always sell. And we're at a point now, it's like, let's get past this shit and get Chuck, Graham, Kelly Jones on more stuff, because his Batman's always creepy with the long ass
really good. Yeah.
In fact, I made fun of him on his birthday about, I put that giant bat that was discovered in the Philippines, and I went and I said, here we see Kelly in his state of sleep. And he replied back and he goes, ears aren't long enough.
Yeah. The vampire.
I have like a weird slew of comic pro friends.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about what's behind you right now, because we're reaching the end of this. And I fucking hate those things. But
you know what? The thing is, I absolutely hated them as well, and I used to really rip.
But I love your collection because that looks beautiful behind you.
And that is what happened. Was I got given one, and I thought, this by itself looks a bit crap. So then I got two, and then it just spiraled out of control, and now it's pretty much my entire room.
I am actually considering getting two. The Child and Mandalorian.
That's how it starts. You
I know.
Two and then
I'm worried because I really do get obsessed with things. I have OCD, so.
And I absolutely hated them as well, and then spiraled out of control.
But I love it because one thing that I will give it is symmetry.
Well, that's the thing. It's uniformed. It's finally taken the action figure and made it uniform
Yeah,
across the board.
it's not this
no matter
height
what
and
series
scale
you get.
thing. It's like all of a sudden I'm looking and they're all even, and it's like,
Yeah,
I have OCD, and that's just beautiful to me.
yeah, and that's pretty much how it's sold. Just every single thing comes the same height, looks pretty similar. It's all uniformed. So when you have them all together as one thing, it looks a lot better than just one which looks crap by itself. But then
He's
you obviously have to
he's
spend
checking it
more
out now. He's looking at
Yeah.
what's behind you.
I can zoom out so you can see it a bit better.
Oh man, give us a look at that. That is like really cool.
Yeah, so that's
Wow.
You got
Wow,
a
wow,
cool
wow.
collection. I like those little box shelves too. Those are nice.
Yeah, and
Man.
that costs a lot of money buying the
Okay,
shelves.
before we get out of here, Paul, I want to ask you some questions. One,
Yeah.
what brought you into doing this?
I started so I was reading comic books, and I just started originally I was a website designer by trade, and I started.
Same here.
Yeah, it's a good place to start off and get into this sort of stuff. So I started doing websites. Thought, you know what, I'm reading loads of comic books. Might as well just put my thoughts down on a website. Started making website reviews, and I've still got my website out there, definition.co.uk, which has just got tons and tons of comic book reviews. And then I thought, oh, well, I might as well do some videos, but that was always the second thing. And then the Batman v Superman Ultimate Edition came out, and I reviewed it, and it got like 6,000 views in a day, which
Holy crap, that's good.
Which was, yeah, that was crazy. And my website wasn't even getting that in like a year. So I just started doing more comic book reviews, and then it just kind of evolved from that. There was a Reddit comment that I'll never forget, because I used to film my reviews on my iPhone, and it was like, this would be really good, but your mic's crap and your camera's crap. Buy a proper mic. So I bought a proper mic.
We've heard that recently, haven't we, Keith?
Yeah, I think we have.
That's why we're doing the campaign.
Yeah, and at the time, I was really disheartened. But the person was 100% right. And I bought a mic and then started actually recording into stuff. And the channel just took off from there, really. And that was pretty much it. It's just always kind of evolving. You can never trace it back to like a single moment where you think, right, I'm going to become a YouTuber now. It just all kind of builds and builds, really. It's never really a career that you mean to have.
It's almost like a natural progression. I get you. It's very organic.
Yeah. And you never just sit down and think, I'm going to become a YouTuber. You think, oh, well, I like talking about this thing. It would be good to just do a video on it. And it kind of grows from there. That's pretty much it.
And, you talk about, because the thing, like if there's a show that we're very close to being like, as much as we love Midnight Sag, we're friends with those guys. We're more like you.
Yeah.
Because we do a lot of analysis. We do a lot of predicting. We've been pretty accurate on our predictions so far. Would you say that, Keith? Pretty accurate?
Yeah. I think we have a pretty good track record with that. Although I really lay a lot of that at his feet, because
Nice.
Gary's pretty good at breaking stuff down.
Yeah.
He's good. He's very thorough.
I'm just good at picking assholes and going, that dude's going to get fucking fired.
Yeah.
But you're one of the other shows that we watch that does a lot of that. And I mean, we don't base our show on yours, but you definitely influenced me in doing what we do.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. I know a British guy influencing an American. What are the odds of that?
Yeah.
But you have the same passion and love for comic books. And even though I love comic books, Keith is the encyclopedia of comic book shit.
Right.
I will, and you've seen me do it. I'll just shut the hell up when he starts talking, because I'm like, yeah, he's talking about shit I don't know. It's like a new language.
Yeah. You just nod along and go, yeah, I agree.
That's true.
That's true. I heard that.
All right. Thanks, man. Anyway, this has been Pop Culture Minefield with Paul, also known as Definition from Heavy Spoilers. We appreciate you coming on the show, and we hope to have you back again, man. You're just
definitely.
Cool, you're a cool dude.
I'll try. No, if you see the toys behind me, you wouldn't say that.
Nerds calling nerds cool is funny to me. But anyway, man, thanks for coming on. And we're
Thank
at
you
the
for
end of
having
the
me.
episode. We got to talk about a little nerd stuff. And with that, we're out of here. Get off our lawns.
Hey guys, thanks for watching Pop Culture Minefield. If you've enjoyed the show, please remember to like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell icon. Remember, you can find us at Pop Culture Minefield on both Facebook and Instagram. Thank you again.
Y'all come back now, you hear?